Welcome to Shining Lights, presented by Speaking of Timmins. Our guest today, Rick Lemieux, founder and organizer of the Timmins Comedy Festival. I'd like to welcome Rick Lemieux, founder and head organizer of the Timmins Comedy Festival that will take place in Timmins from March 26th to March 28th of this year. Rick, welcome to Speaking of Timmins. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for helping me promote the show. Awesome.
Absolutely no problem. Looking forward to it, Rick. So our first question is, for listeners who may not yet be aware of the Timmins Comedy Festival, can you provide a quick history of the festival and what led you to creating a comedy festival here in Timmins?
Well, it's only the second year that we've been doing it, although I've been organizing comedy shows for about 15 years here in Timmins, just to raise money for different nonprofit organizations we have in town. And back in, I believe it was 2008, I was invited to perform at the LOL Comedy Festival in Sudbury. And I thought, maybe it'd be something we could do in Timmins. I'd love to be able to do something like this for the community. And it took a couple of years, and kind of looking at it, it's a big risk because to do a festival, you have to have multiple shows for different groups of people. And it took me quite a few years, and then last year I decided, okay, well, I'm going to try it out, and we'll see how it goes. So it was great. First thing I did was I booked Derek Edwards, simply because he is from Timmins, and I didn't want to do the first Timmins Comedy Festival without him. And once he was booked, everything else fell into place, and it was a great success last year.
Rick, before we start talking about the upcoming Timmins Comedy Festival, I thought it might be appropriate for us to take just a couple of seconds to talk about one of the true comedic legends of our time, which we lost last year, Robin Williams. Can you share your thoughts on Robin Williams and what perhaps he meant to you in your career as a comedian from an inspiration point of view?
Oh, I loved his show. He was one of the first comedians I watched as a kid, and it was just amazing. I actually, I don't know if I should say this, but in high school, we had a night where we could go and do some comedy, or it was like an open night, not an open mic night, not comedy, but you could do anything you want up on stage, for the high school students. And I actually copied a whole part of his show and went up on stage in Timmins here in high school and did a show for all the students. And I just copied word for word what he did, just because he was so phenomenal and so quick. Amazing comedian. But, when people are on stage, it's a different person. We don't know what he was going through in his real life. He would have been struggling throughout most of his life. We don't know. But on stage, you become a totally different person. Like me, when I'm on stage, I'm actually completely different than from what I am when I'm just hanging out. When I'm just at a party or something, I'm very quiet. But on stage, you try to get as many laughs as you can, right?
Could you share with us who some of your favorite current comedians are, and are there a few up-and-coming comedians that we should be on the lookout for?
One of my favorites is Derek Edwards, and I've been able to chat with him quite a bit, and he's just amazing, one of Canada's best. But when I was speaking to him about the new festival, I said, who do you think would be the best guy to bring up? And the first person he said was Pete Zedlacker. Basically, he said, my favorite guy to watch is Pete Zedlacker, who's originally from Wawa. And I contacted Pete and got him to come up for the festival. So he's somebody who's been to Just for Laughs, and amazing comedian. People in Timmins are going to love, because it's a lot of he's going to be able to use a lot of material from growing up in Northern Ontario. So that's going to be right up our alley here. He's going to be amazing. Cool guy from Miracle Falls. I've been, for years, I did the Timmins comedy competition, where I have people who want to try comedy, and we'd have a little contest where they would win a prize at the end and get to work with some professional comedians. And one guy, his first show up ever doing stand-up was a guy named James Judd, and he actually made it to the finals and won. So he did 3 shows in his life and won the comedy competition that we had here in Timmins. Great comedian to watch as well.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the comedians that will be performing at this year's Timmins Comedy Festival, maybe starting with Erica Sigurdsson?
Yeah, definitely. Again, one of Canada's best. From what I hear from other comedians, is the best female comedian in Canada, bar none. So getting her was a big thing for the city, and I was able to book her at the same time as I booked Mike McDonald, which most people that know comedy will know Mike McDonald, Canadian comedy legend, who was very sick for a couple of years, and he's only been back for the last year doing comedy. So it's going to be great to have him here as well. And then Erica and Pete and all these, phenomenal Canadian comedians. So it's going to be such a great festival. I hope people support it and come out and enjoy it.
Rick, can you share with our audience what the details of the festival are, what the dates are, who's going to be performing what night, what the themes are for the different evenings, so that it'll help our listeners make that important decision to purchase their tickets for the 2015 Timmins Comedy Festival?
Sure. It's a 3-day event, 4 shows, and every show is different. The first night is going to be at the Victory Tavern, and it's a show called Inappropriate Thursday. And I called it that because, my partner at work actually gave it. David Ainsworth actually gave me that title. I better give him props for it because he won't let me hear the end of it if I take credit for it. But he said, Inappropriate Thursday. I said, yes, perfect. Of course, adults only. The headliner that night is a guy named J.P. Nathan, originally from Sault Ste. Marie and living in Toronto now. And I basically told him anything goes this night. So they could say whatever they want. So if you like comedy that's very vulgar and dirty comedy, this is the show for you. Only $10 gets you in the door. There's only 150 tickets though for that show. Then the second day is a dinner comedy show, and that's going to be at the Dante Club. And we have Pete Zedlacker, Erica Sigurdsson performing at that show. I'm going to be hosting all the shows while we're here, so I get that out of the way. But yeah, Pete Zedlacker and Erica Sigurdsson, and there's going to be a special guest that night. I'm not saying who it is, but you'll see when you're at the show. And then on the Saturday, that's the 28th, the Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m., from Hollywood, California, we have Retro Bill coming to Timmins. And he's going to be doing a show that's for families. It's not just a comedy show, because it's hilarious, but very educational at the same time, very motivating to get kids, to look up to their parents, to get parents to be good role models for their kids, and not just parents, but the adults in our community. We should be setting an example for the youth, and the Retro Bill show is the most motivating presentation you could see, and one of the funniest as well. He's the reason why in my job when I'm teaching the DARE program and doing different presentations, he's the reason why I push myself so hard to try to be the best that I can be. He's the reason why when I train new officers, I try to push them to be the best they can be. So people have got to come out and see Retro Bill. And those tickets are only $5. So for a family of 4, $20, you get a great comedy show, and as well as motivating comedy shows for your kids and for yourself and for your family. And then on the Saturday night, there's going to be the theater gala, and that show's going to be featuring all the comedians from the festival doing smaller bits, except for Mike McDonald, who's going to close off the show with 45 minutes to an hour. And that show is only $20, and it's going to be corporate clean, meaning teenagers can go, and parents don't have to be afraid. If they're allowed to watch Just for Laughs on TV, then they're allowed to watch this at the theater.
And tickets for the festival are available at the Book Bin, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, tickets are available exclusively at the Book Bin. That's at 263rd Avenue here in Timmins. $10 for the Inappropriate Thursday show, $50 for the dinner comedy show, $5 for the Retro Bill show, and $20 for the Mike McDonald show. For more information, of course, you could always visit www.timminscomedy.com. Feel free to join our Facebook page as well. I try to post everything on there for, interviews that are going to be happening and that sort of thing, so they could see who's coming and what the shows are all about. And all the posters are on there as well. If you click on a poster on the website, feel free to print it off, put it up in your business, or they can contact me through the website at timminscomedy@hotmail.com, and I will bring them posters for their business just to help promote the show.
And I think it's important to note for our listeners that the profits made by this particular festival don't go to anybody's pockets. You are donating them to charity. Can you share with our listeners, Rick, what charity is going to be the charity of choice for this year's Timmins Comedy Festival?
Definitely. Last year I supported Crime Stoppers. This year I want to change it up, and I think I'm going to change it up every year. I'm donating all the money made at the festival to the Wheels of Hope, a group of volunteers here in Timmins who drive cancer patients to their appointments in Sudbury or wherever their appointments would be. So I just want to support something local, and I think this is such a great program. All these great people volunteering their time to drive cancer patients. My heart goes out to them, and hopefully I could donate some money to them after the festival.
Well, that does it for this episode of Shining Lights. I'd like to thank our guest, Rick Lemieux, and would encourage you to purchase tickets to the Timmins Comedy Festival happening right here in Timmins from March 26th to March 28th. I'm Frank Rock, and this is Speaking of Timmins.